Welcome to the Lay in Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. It's Sunday, and I'm getting this video out to you guys a little bit late, but let's just get right into how we did on Friday after a day off on Saturday for myself anyway, taking care of a couple other things. It was a bloodbath. It was an absolute slaughter, and we only went 1-4. We lost 3.6 units. To be honest, I don't really regret too much. I mean, I regret losing, but there was a lot that went into this. And things were close in some instances and not close in others, but lack of explanation as well. The use case and the examples and all of the sort of momentum that we had going into the reasoning for LeBron to go under, OG to go over, Brunson to get more assists, and Kawhi to have a much better game. None of it came true. So it was 1-4. We move on. You got to take the losses with the wins. This is a long-term game here. And over the season, still up 7.2, but really those player props are what we've been focused on for the most part, as you all know. And we're up 15 units in those. So we're going to go back to about 4 bets, but fifth one here with a same-game parlay. So 5 total that we've got on the day. Let's get right the hell into it and move past Friday. Paolo Banchero, 25-plus points and 5-plus boards and 5-plus assists. Let's go ahead and take that from -120 there on DraftKings. Full unit on that. Apologies, I thought I had that written in the slide. No Franz Wagner, and we just saw a wonderful game from this team, including obviously Paolo there with the triple-double against the Nuggets as they won that game, 122-120, which is a wild game on Friday if you were watching it. Wish I had some action in that game. It was way more fun, but either way, without Franz and a few others that we have questionable, Gary Harris questionable, we've got Goga Batadze and Wendell Carter Jr. also questionable. Markelle Fultz questionable. So we don't really know if we're going to get the same team we had for Orlando on Friday, which would be wonderful for this bet. If we knew that we had that team, I might feel more comfortable just putting a little bit on triple-double for Paolo as well. So if you see all those guys out, really the only one I would not really care about is like, if Markelle Fultz is in, the assists are not really going to be there. If Goga's in, probably less likely on the rebounds, but if all three of Goga and Wendell Carter Jr. and Markelle Fultz are out in this game, triple-double at plus 1,600, not too bad for Paolo Banchero. Against the Hawks in this game, where we expect to see a lot of points, he had 17 potential assists versus Denver on Friday, and I would have gone higher on the rebounds if I knew right now that those centers weren't going to be in Wendell Carter Jr. and Goga Batadze. But I love the assists without them because even with them, that's why I'm happy to put the assists in there. And I keep the rebounds a little bit low. But he did have the triple-double with the 11 assists there in his last game there against Denver. And that was wildly impressive, man. We saw, like I said, 17 potential assists for him because he's really playing point guard at like 6'10". It was wild. The rebounds are still going to be there for him against Atlanta. They allow the 8th most offensive rebounds on the road. The only reason that they don't allow that many defensive rebounds on the road is because they just give up points. Like they allow the highest field goal percentage to opponents. They allow the most points per game when they're playing on the road this season, nearly 127, like 126.6 basically. They play a much higher pace when they're on the road, and Orlando has been going over at home on the season, although in their last few games, they've gone well under after not being able to score more than 105 points in their last 3 home games. But they haven't been playing at home as much, and now that they're back there and they just beat Denver there, I do think there's going to be a lot of points in this one once again, especially if we've just got a lot of Cole Anthony out there for the Magic playing mostly point guard for them. Then yeah, we're going to see Paolo getting assists because Cole Anthony is still really a shooting guard, not necessarily a facilitator looking for others as much as like a spark plug off the bench kind of player who gets his own shot. So Paolo is pretty much the point guard at that point. We'll see if Gary Harris or Markelle Fultz play, but really Fultz is the only one I'm worried about for the assists. And then both Wendell Carter and Goga Batadze would eat into his rebounds a little bit, mostly Goga Batadze. So see if those guys are out. You can play around with this. And even like I said, get that triple-double if you get a really good report that none of those guys are in for the Magic. So keeping it in this game, we've got Trey Young over 26.5 points, -120 with a unit. I am going to ladder that to 30 plus points for Trey and plus 145 on DraftKings for that with 0.3 units on that one. This is just another example of playing Orlando and scoring point guards like a Steph Curry, like a Luka Doncic, like a Trey Young. Although I don't know if you want to call Luka a point guard. The man is 6'7", like 240. But either way, guys who are even smaller and slithery like Trey, who shoot a lot of threes and get to the free throw line. Those are the guys that are going to get a lot of points against this Orlando defense. Only real place that they're vulnerable, which I've talked about before, as recently as when Steph went off for 36 in that game, and we liked him in that one. We also liked under rebounds and assists for Steph in that one, which was a good bet as well. But in this one, Trey could definitely get assists, especially without rim protection down low. Wendell Carter Jr. and Goga Batadze, like I said, got to keep an eye on them. I'm still good with this bet with Trey, but if they're out, then the 30 plus points with Trey is an even better bet. So I'm just getting ahead of that a little bit because it might dwindle if we see those guys in the game for Orlando. But they do allow the 8th most points per game to point guards. And Markelle Fultz being out would be nice too, because he is a good defensive point guard, but has also been injured for so long now. Like, I'm not sure how many minutes he can even really play if he comes into this game. That means lots of Cole Anthony for Orlando, as I said, which means assists for Paolo, and now it means not one less defender for Trey out on the wing with a really bad defender in Cole Anthony, who's just looking to score, really good at it, just not really playing too well in other facets of the game. So if you're going to say that Trey can get into the lane because there's not a lot of defense to keep him from out of there, and once he gets there, there's not much in the way of rim protection to stop him from scoring, then the floaters are going to be there for him. The points in the paint will even be there for him, meaning he'll get to the foul line once again. It's all with the 3-pointers in there as well. It's all just tailor-made for a big Trey game once again, which is what we saw from him last time when he had 41 points in that one. He put up 15 3-pointers and got to the line 13 times in that game. So I expect a good amount of the same for him here. All of his teammates were in that game. It's not like they were missing guys and he had to take over more. It's going to be the same concept in this one. So the way that the Magic just gave up 66 points in the paint to Denver, who obviously is a points in the paint machine with between Jokic and Aaron Gordon and even a little bit of Jamal Murray when he gets to the rim. Still, like this team as well in Atlanta between Trey and even DeJounte, but also Trey and his play with Okongwu and Clint Capella, going to be a lot of stuff going to the rim, a lot of floaters, a lot of assists probably available for Trey as well if you want to look at that. But I like him to continue to score points against this Magic team like he has of late. And this is the little bonus bet with I don't need to go into for too long, but I love both these guys to get 25 plus for plus 104. I'm putting a full unit on that as well because I think that's one of my favorite bets of the day, to be honest, for them to both get 25. I've already got Paolo with the 25, but I've got him with the ancillary stats as well. And these two to get this amount together is plus 104. So that's some really nice plus juice in what I think will be a very likely scenario for these two guys. So moving right on to bet number 4 here, where we've got Mr. Stephen Wardell Curry, not his brother. Over 5.5 is so juiced down, minus 156 on FanDuel, but we're taking that for a full unit. And oftentimes when I feel really good about a bet like I do this one, I'll go ahead and put 1.5 units on Steph to do this. But I'm just going to ladder it instead and take the minus money on the assists 5.5 and see if I can't get 8+ from him at plus 225, which is really good juice for 8+ for him in what is something that he can definitely do. He's very capable of. He's gotten 8 actually twice now without CP3 playing this season in 2 of the 3 games. The other game was Oklahoma against OKC, and he had 34 points in that game, looking to score a lot more. OKC limits point guard assists a lot more. This is Toronto, who limits point guard points, not assists. That's why they actually allow the 8th most assists to point guards on the season and limit them to about the 5th fewest points per game. Over his last 4, Steph has gotten 11, 8, 6, and 7, but he's only averaging 21 points per game. So he's very emblematic of how Toronto plays defense against point guards. Get a lot of assists, more than you normally might, and don't get as many points as you normally might. So 11, 8, 6, and 7. He's gone over in all 4 of those with really good numbers there in the assists. And it's sort of like a new look Golden State. We've got Chris Paul out. It's obvious from the first bullet point that I have there, that why I'm telling you what he does without CP3. It's because CP3 is going to be out maybe 4 to 6 weeks is the early timetable that he's been given. So without him and it's more of a continued new look Golden State where they want to play with pace, man. If you listen to Steph talk after the game, he wants to get out and run. And with CP3, it goes slower. Everything's going to continuously go slower and play at his pace. And Steph can do that. They're fine in that half court. It's a very good half court offense with Steph and Chris Paul on the floor at the same time. That said, he's not going to be there anymore. Draymond's still not there, which might also increase the pace if he was. But either way, I do think we're going to see decent pace with Toronto playing on the road here, where we just saw them go 135 to 130 versus the Kings in their last game on Friday. And now we come back to what is going to be, should be another fast-paced game with Steph looking for guys who are going to be spreading the floor with him as well. Obviously, Clay's in there, and then even Podziemski. And Kuminga's questionable, so we'll see if he plays, but Moody might get a few more minutes and have the ability to hit some threes. So we should be able to see them. Gary Payton Jr. is out, by the way. That's another dude who would be not a shooter on the floor. And now we have more shooters on the floor for Steph as a result. So we're going to get him in the assists here. And we're going to close things out in the same game once again with Jakob Poeltl. And this one I'm putting 0.5 units on because I like it a lot, but there's a bit of scariness to it. Minus 120 for half a unit. He's been putting up field goal attempts even when he gets short minutes. We have a small sample size of him since the trade, basically, right? Since OG Anunoby got traded, and this is a new look Raptors squad. So that's what we're predicating this on, is that what we've seen in the first 3 games is what we're going to continue to see. The first thing we've seen is his minutes go up, even though in the last game on Friday versus Sac, he only played 22.5 minutes. In those 22.5 minutes, he took 10 shots and got his 14 points, well over the 9.5 here that we're talking about. So it's really interesting because even when he hasn't played, I should also mention, since the trade, the other 2 games, he played 34 and 35 minutes in those games, right? So he's got a lot higher minutes, a lot higher usage rate as well. He's up to about 17% versus about 14.5% in the usage rate there since the trade, right? That's the difference. So even in the other 2 games, he had 8 attempts and 7 attempts, got over. Against Cleveland, he had 14 points on 8 attempts. Right. So it's the attempts staying low that scares you, but he continues to score on 7 to 8 attempts, which is actually, like I said, a bit higher than what he was getting before this trade. The minutes are there because I think they need a center in there to have a bit more rim protection without one of the best defenders in the league, period, in OG Anunoby, who can guard positions 1 through 5. So without him, that gives you a lot less flexibility to keep Poeltl off of the floor. You need a legit rim protector with the not as good defense that you're now seeing out there without OG and with RJ Barrett and IQ out there. And decent defenders, I would actually say IQ is a better defender than RJ Barrett, which only means you have less rebounding and less defense because you just subbed in RJ Barrett for OG Anunoby. Golden State does allow the 4th most points per game to centers. That's all to say he's going to play a lot. And they're going to continue to allow a lot of points to centers. In the last 10 games, 11 different centers have gone over 10 plus points. That includes games where 2 different centers went over 10 plus points in their matchup, and a couple games in 2 of those games where neither center went over, including DeAndre Ayton only getting 8 points. But you got plenty of examples here of a lot of guys getting 10 plus points against this Dubs team. So I'm going to take Jakob. Even though he's not always the highest usage guy, it's gone up and it's a good matchup. So let's close it out here. Quick summary of the bets we're playing. Bet Paolo Banchero, 25 plus points, 5 plus boards, 5 plus assists at minus 120. Trey Young, over 26.5 points, 30 plus points. Trey and Paolo, 25 plus points each in a little same game parlay. We're going to get plus 104 on that. And we are going to ladder Trey there to 30 plus for a little bit. Steph Curry, 5.5 assists with a little ladder to 8 plus. And Jakob Poeltl, over 9.5 points. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. I appreciate you all following along, continuing to subscribe and to the page and like those videos. It's super helpful. Should have told you at the top, I do have college basketball on the channel now. Very stoked to have Oaks on there. My man just had a sizzling hot Saturday. He gave out 5 bets on the show and hit 4 of them. So he's a nice 4-1 to start off his Land Your Bets channel, which is the Burr Oaks, the Oaks college basketball shows that we're going to have on there. So those will be on a slightly different playlist. You'll see those having like a lot of green in the branding for him because he likes that color there, and it's a part of his logo, the Burr Oaks 77 logo. So definitely check those out. Continue to follow along here. Much appreciated. And until we see you next tomorrow, happy betting.